Hello everyone, today we are going to be talking about one of the worst comics I have read in a long time, Heroes in Crisis. If you're one of the smart people that decided to skip this book, you might be asking, why is this comic so terrible? Well, let's get into that. Starting off with the plot. The plot itself isn't that interesting and not a whole lot in the story makes any sense. Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman decided to make a place where heroes could go and emotionally recover from all the insane experiences that they have had in their career of being a superhero, or villain, I guess, since Poison Ivy is here. So yeah, the qualifications for entering Sanctuary aren't that strict. Sanctuary is filled with Kryptonian tech that is supposed to therapeutically help these damaged heroes. They can go and confess to some robots, or they can go in a VR chamber and experience whatever they want to. In the first issue, we see that a bunch of heroes that were receiving treatment at Sanctuary have been murdered. Most notably among these heroes is Wally West and Roy Harper. The only people that survived this massacre are Booster Gold and Harley Quinn, so naturally they are the two primary suspects. They both believe the other one is the culprit, so they are both set on the path to try and figure out who did it, while also being hunted by the Justice League. Booster goes and tells Flash what happened, and Flash goes to investigate for himself, then quickly comes back and apprehends Booster. Harley Quinn ends up getting found by the Trinity, but she deals with them relatively easily. She tricks Wonder Woman to embrace her so she can take her lasso and kick her in the face. Then she takes Batman hostage with the lasso and threatens to break his neck. She takes kryptonite from Batman's utility belt and uses it to immobilize Superman, and then she promptly gets away. Yes, Harley Quinn just 1v3 the Justice League with ease. No, believe it or not, this is not the worst part of this book. After escaping from the Justice League, Harley is found by Batgirl. Harley tries to fight her, but Batgirl just wants to kind of hold hands and hug it out instead. Batgirl is not there to apprehend a murder suspect. No, she's there to help the suspected murderer. Or, well, I mean, she is a murderer. She's killed tons of innocent people in the past, but for this massacre, she's a suspect. Batgirl talks Harley down and tells her she's there to help her because she knows it's only a matter of time before Batman finds Harley and he'll automatically presume her guilty. Batgirl goes on to say that she sees herself and Harley as kindred spirits. She's upset at Batman for apparently treating her like a broken little girl, and she thinks he does the same to Harley. So instead of teaming up with Batman, someone she's worked with for years, she's teaming up with a psychotic murderer who is wanted for another killing. Makes perfect sense. Meanwhile, Blue Beetle breaks Booster out of his cell, thus Booster is now on the run. Batgirl wants to find him because she believes Harley when Harley said that Booster killed everyone. Yes, believe the psychotic murderer. Batgirl has the idea that Skeets, who is Booster's Gold's robot sidekick who is still in custody, must have a way of tracking Booster, but Batman hasn't found out a way to do so, so she decides to intimidate Skeets with Harley. Yes, Batgirl's plan to extract information from a robot is to have a crazy girl with a giant hammer threaten him. Skeets is a robot. I don't know why he would be afraid of a hammer causing him pain, or why he thinks they would smash him, considering if they did, they're back at square one and can't track Booster. But nevertheless, this idiotic strategy somehow works, and they are able to track Booster. The entire time Harley has been with Batgirl, she has been non-stop telling Batgirl that when she sees Booster, she's going to kill him. And Batgirl's response is just, "Ah, hun, don't do that," every single time. Batgirl, you are dealing with a genuine psychopath who has killed loads of people before and used to bang the most insane guy on the planet. Why are you not taking this more seriously? Anyways, they finally catch up with Booster and Blue Beetle. Harley and Booster fight. Well, actually they don't fight. Harley just beats on him while Booster just sits there doing literally nothing. Blue Beetle and Batgirl are watching this fight from the sidelines, and during this, Batgirl finds out that Booster's shield is powered by Blue Beetle's ship, and Blue Beetle's ship is powered by his consciousness. Therefore, Batgirl knocks Beetle unconscious. She then tells Harley that the shield is down, and Harley proceeds to try and kill Booster, but decides not to. Yes, Batgirl just aided a psychotic killer that she barely knows in trying to kill a superhero. Batgirl did not know that Harley would pull away from stabbing Booster at the last second. Batgirl was very close to helping murder an innocent man. Harley, Batgirl, Beetle, and Booster all talk it out after Harley's attempted murder, and now they are working together. While investigating the crime scene earlier, Booster realized that Wally's dead body was 5 days older than the date of the massacre. Booster tells Harley and Batgirl this, so they decide to try to find Wally, since now it has been 5 days since the murder. But before they find Wally, we get the reveal of who the murderer is, and drumroll please, It's Wally West. Oh wow, what a twist. This is so great. Yep. In issue 8, we get a rundown of Wally's first day at Sanctuary to his last. Wally says that he initially didn't believe anyone else was at Sanctuary. He believed that this place was made specifically for him, and they said there were other people, well, other heroes there just to make him feel better, to be like, hey buddy, you're not the only damaged heroes, there's other ones here. But Wally didn't believe that. Wally tells the Kryptonian AI that he's lonely and he wants to see the others, but the AI tells him that the place is anonymous and all the confessionals are immediately scattered into a million different pieces of data. Wally, being the fastest man alive, gathers all of that data in a few seconds, and then he proceeds to watch everyone's confessionals. Seeing this overloads him and breaks him. Wally now needs to be alone after seeing all that, so he runs outside. Yes, it's ironic. He's talking about how he's lonely and he wanted to see people, and then he sees people and he gets overwhelmed and says he needs to be alone. So anyways, he runs outside, but because he stole all the data from the confessionals, this sets off an alarm in Sanctuary that tells everyone to go outside. Everyone goes outside and gathers around Wally to see what's going on. Then Wally proceeds to kill everyone. Yeah, the Speed Force just kind of comes out and kills everyone. Wally explains that the Speed Force is a burden and it's something you have to control. The Speed Force is something that every second of every day, he says he's always pushing back at it. He says that seeing all that hurt for the first time, that made him lose control. So yes, apparently that's a thing now. Speed Force users can just one-shot anyone if they lose control. But if this is the case, how come this has never happened before? There were evil people that had control of the Speed Force. If they could feel this inside them and that they needed to fight back in order to not harm people, why not stop fighting it and just let it go so that way you can kill your enemies? This doesn't make any sense. Especially considering the first volume of Flash Rebirth, there was a huge thing where a bunch of people got the Speed Force. A bunch of people were now speedsters, but none of them killed anyone, and all these guys had no experience with the Speed Force. You think someone would have lost control and killed everyone, but nope, that didn't happen. After killing everyone, Wally sees that Booster and Harley ignored the alarms and didn't go outside. So he hacks into their VR and sets it up so they see each other murdering everyone, and then he brings them outside where he had set up a crime scene. Wally goes into great detail about how he's worked with Barry and Batman, so he knows how to stage a crime scene. Wally props up dead bodies and writes fake messages and frames Booster and Harley. What a hero. So that's how it happened, and that's also how it's revealed. Oh, you thought it might be more satisfying if, say, Barry Allen or another hero figured it out? Too bad, everyone's a moron and Tom King just has the murderer straight up tell you what happened instead of having anyone figure it out. This is one of the worst murder mysteries I've ever read, and the reveal is incredibly unsatisfying. Wally then takes Booster's tech and travels 5 days into the future to kill himself, so that way he can use that body at the crime scene to buy time to fix everything. The reason he needed Booster's tech, by the way, is because something happened in Flash War to where you can't use the Speed Force to time travel anymore, so that's why he needed Booster's tech. But anyways, now back to the modern day. Booster, Beetle, Harley, and Batgirl find the Wallys. One Wally explains that he's not going to kill his other self because messing with time is what Barry did and that caused Flashpoint. So instead, Wally decides to release the private tapes of all those heroes in their worst moments, venting about their problems to the media. Yep, he releases those tapes to the media. These were supposed to be private tapes of heroes in their worst moments venting because they didn't think anyone else could see it, and this would be private. But Wally, being the hero that he is, decides to release all those tapes and thinks that's a good idea because, oh, people will see that heroes are just people too that suffer. This is not the way you go about it, Wally. This is not the way to do it, but apparently Tom King sees this as a heroic action. No, this is not a heroic action. This is awful. You don't do this. There's a reason things between a therapist and their patient stay private. But God, apparently Tom King thinks this is a heroic act, and this was his one thing to sort of redeem Wally a little bit, to be like, hey, Wally fans, look, it's not that bad. He did this good thing, except it's not good. This is a bad thing. If anyone did this in real life, this would be bad. But in the middle of the Wallys talking to each other, Booster butts in and tells Wally that to avoid any time mishaps, they just need to complete the loop of what's already been done. He says that Wally doesn't need to kill himself because Booster can get him a clone from a place in the future. Harley then goes ahead and knees Wally West in the balls for framing her and killing her girlfriend. Everyone just kind of stands there while Wally is on the ground in pain. I feel like this is a great representation of how DC feels about Wally West. Tom King is Harley, kneeing Wally in the balls, destroying Wally. And everyone standing around and watching is DC editorial and the publishers just being like, Tom King's ruining Wally. Whatever. They just sat and watched as Tom King massacred Wally West. The book then ends with Wally West being thrown in prison. Yep, that's just such a great way to end the book. Wally's now in prison after murdering people, and this is kind of a thing that's hard to undo, because at least with Hal, when he killed a bunch of people, it was retconned to where it was Parallax. It's going to be hard to retcon Wally. Maybe 10 years from now, Jeff Johns could be like, oh, the Speed Force affected him and it wasn't Wally, he was being controlled or something, because as it stands right now, Wally is a murderer. I don't care if it was accidental manslaughter. Wally murdered several people, several heroes. That's hard to come back from. Now that I've recapped the plot and you know what happens, let's get into some of the really moronic elements of this book, starting with Sanctuary. Sanctuary is pointless. It literally helps no one. There's no therapist to help them. Everyone just talks to robots that ask the worst questions. One of the questions they ask is, how many people have you saved? How is this supposed to help a struggling hero, making them think about, oh, maybe they haven't saved enough people? That's just awful. These robots are programmed by Batman. Last I checked, he's not a therapist. This is literally the equivalent of talking to Siri. There should have been real people there helping these heroes. At least that way they would get actual help and there would be no private tapes leaked. The other aspect of Sanctuary that is supposed to help these heroes heal is everyone has control of their own VR chamber. Most of them just use it to relive their trauma though, but what do you expect? These people shouldn't have to heal themselves. They need help from others, not someone handing them a VR chamber saying, go nuts. For one example, Lagoon Boy uses the VR to get shot by a laser over 300 times. Because he's been shot in his dreams by a laser, so he decides to relive it in the VR. This isn't healthy. This isn't helping. You don't do this. You don't go to a damaged person and say, hey, fix it yourself, idiot. They need help. This is terrible. It's just... Then Booster even asks the AI if this VR tech helps, and all it says is to remember why you're going to where you go in the VR. That just sounds like some terrible fortune cookie bullshit. That doesn't sound like anything that's going to help anyone. You have to be your own therapist here. It's awful. Booster uses the VR to just beat himself up, because, you know, that's helpful. But none of the therapy robots decide to hop in and say, you know, maybe this isn't healthy. The entire concept of Sanctuary is dumb as can be and doesn't make any sense. But that's this book in a nutshell. Nothing makes sense and everyone acts out of character. I'm about to go down and sort of just check some things off about stuff that doesn't make any damn sense in this book, so sorry if I don't really connect the dots here. I just kind of blow through it, but that's yeah, I just have some stuff I want to get off my chest real quick. So Poison Ivy is sent to Sanctuary because apparently Batman doesn't see her as a villain. I don't get why you would throw a former, still kind of supervillain in the same place as a bunch of damaged heroes. I don't see any logic there, and I doubt Batman would do that. Harley isn't supposed to be there, but sneaks in to visit Ivy. While she's there, she starts to receive therapy. Why the hell aren't these robots alerting the Justice League that Harley broke in? Also, why is Harley receiving therapy? That doesn't add up with her character. She knows she's crazy and doesn't care to become sane. So why is she using the robot confessionals in the VR booth? And why are the robots helping her? They shouldn't be giving her therapy. They should be alerting someone. Why is Booster such a pushover in this book? I always saw Booster as an impulsive man of action, but in this he just sits there when insane things are happening to him and around him. He watches Harley kill Wally West and then proceeds to have a conversation with her, just a casual combo. Booster would never do that. Booster's problem was that he's always acted without thinking, but in this he never acts. He just accepts everything and is a pincushion for Harley. In issue 7, he just sits there and lets Harley beat on him and then accepts his death when his shield is down. He never once fights back. Also, why the hell was Red Hood ever at Sanctuary? In Red Hood issue number 27, Bruce comes to tell Jason that Roy died at Sanctuary. Bruce then tries to convince him to go to counseling, and Jason tells him that Roy wouldn't want him to just sit there and mope. He then leaves a voicemail on Roy's phone telling him, "This is exactly why I never got my life together." So from this issue, we can clearly see that Jason is anti-Sanctuary and would never go there. Why did no one ever check on their friends at Sanctuary? Why didn't Barry come to check on Wally? Rebirth number 1 reestablished that Barry really cares about Wally, but he just leaves him isolated and never checks on him? Why didn't Batman keep tabs on Poison Ivy? She's a former villain after all. Wouldn't it make sense for the most paranoid man in the DC universe to check in to make sure she didn't harm anyone? Why the hell is Wally now a psychopath? Yeah, the whole Speed Force exploding out of his body and killing everyone thing is stupid, but the worst part is what he does after that. Wally doesn't even hesitate to set up a crime scene and frame 2 innocent people. Wally moves dead bodies around and frames Booster and Harley. That's not Wally, that's a psychopath. So to add on to how much Tom King hates Wally West and how much he just destroyed his character, There was a really disturbing moment with Wally, even more disturbing than him propping up dead bodies and just killing everyone. Like, the extent that Wally West went to framing Harley Quinn and Booster Gold was just sickening, to be honest. Like, it's bad. I really feel sorry for Wally West fans with this book. But so we see that Wally West propped up all the dead bodies and everything, and he framed them, and he even kills himself to set up a dead body to make it look like he didn't do it. But on top of that, we see that when Batman is doing an autopsy on Commander Steel, he finds deep within his neck, he finds some Joker teeth to make it seem like Harley Quinn killed Commander Steel. And Batman talks about how someone made him swallow this. So after Wally killed Commander Steel, he took some Joker teeth and shoved them down his throat. A dead man, he went and shoved Joker teeth down his throat. That is just... God, that's sickening to think about Wally West doing that. A hero, a symbol of hope, doing that. Just, oh my... It's just... Man, that... He just wanted to ruin Wally in every way he could. It's just... It's terrible. I can't... Like, that's the point where the excuse of, oh, Tom King didn't choose these characters. The editorial told him the characters. He just pitched the story. The editorial didn't tell him to go this far with Wally. I guarantee this was all Tom King. This part was Tom King. Editorial just told him the character he could use for his story. But Tom King was the one who decided to go overboard with it and make Wally this sick murderer and doing all the, the murder was on accident, but everything after that was not. Setting up the dead bodies and shoving this down a dead man's throat is just, God, I don't know what's wrong with Tom King. Like, to do this to Wally is just messed up. So in one of the earlier issues of Heroes in Crisis, before we knew who did it, we see Lagoon Boy just get stabbed, and it's really weird, because it's like, oh man, I wonder who did it. Maybe Harley stabbed him or something, but then later you find out the Flash killed him with the Speed Force, just like the Speed Force exploding out of him, so you're like, then why do we see him get stabbed? And a fan actually asked Tom King this, and Tom King said that, yeah, Wally did not stab Lagoon Boy. He said this scene takes place inside Lagoon Boy's mind as the Speed Force hits him, but it's a great question. That page is not written well, a big regret of mine. Yeah, Tom, but the whole book isn't written well. The whole, every single page isn't written well, and I hope this entire book is a regret of yours and you learned from this, because this is just awful. But at least he addressed this. At least he addressed it and was just like, yeah, this is just bad. At least he didn't make an excuse for it. He just said it was bad. So props to Tom King for taking responsibility for this page. I wish he would take responsibility for this entire garbage book. Barry is treated like an erratic dumbass throughout this entire book. When Booster tells him what happened at Sanctuary, he goes to Sanctuary, comes back, and punches Booster. Then after Booster breaks out and goes to Barry, Barry hits him, but then Booster tases him? This Barry is an idiot. He's so emotional about everything, doesn't think anything through. It's like he's never heard of someone being framed, even though he's a CSI guy. He's a crime scene guy. He should know about that. His immediate thing during every situation is just punch instead of think. It doesn't line up with Barry at all. The confessionals are dumb. According to these confessionals, all of the Robins are all having an identity crisis, even though they have already sorted through this years before. Yes, each Robin was upset when they got replaced. Dick was upset when Jason became the new Robin. Jason was upset when he found out Tim replaced him, and so on. But they've all sorted this out and know who they are. The only one that really would have a reason to question any of this is Damian, since he's still kind of on the fence of whether he's more Wayne or Al Ghul, and Deathstroke is always messing with him. But even so, Damian would never agree to go to Sanctuary. That is beneath him, and he doesn't see himself as damaged or broken. Hal has possibly the worst confessional of anyone throughout the entire book. A lot of these are terrible, but Hal's is probably the worst. Hal says he doesn't know what will is, even though he created a ring out of thin air using his own will at the beginning of Rebirth. He also killed Krona during War of the Green Lanterns, which was supposed to be impossible to do with a Green Lantern ring, but Hal's will is so strong he overrode the ring and killed him. If there's anyone in the DC universe that is sure of themselves or knows what will is, it's Hal Jordan. The fact of the matter is, these confessionals read like a parody of Tom King's writing. It's like what I would write if I was told to mock Tom King's dialogue. I will now read two things of dialogue. You tell me which one I wrote and which one Tom King wrote. I have an inner demon, but it's not the one you think. They call me Superman, but am I more super or man? So I actually did a Twitter poll to see which one you guys thought Tom King wrote and which one you guys thought I wrote, and I hate to break it to everyone, but you guys got it wrong. So 75 people voted, and 55% thought that Tom King wrote the Superman panel and I wrote the Jason Blood panel, and 45% thought the other way around. So I wrote the Superman panel and Tom King wrote the Jason Blood panel, but they're both so just ridiculously awful that no one could tell the difference. That's how bad they were, and I'm so happy about this. It just proves my point about how these confessionals play out like parodies. They seriously seem like parodies. Like when I was reading them, I thought I could write this. This is exactly how it would sound if someone hired me to write a parody of Tom King. And then I went and I proved it on Twitter by having people vote. People thought I wrote the Jason Blood one, Tom King wrote the Superman one. That shows how it's interchangeable. My garbage parody about they called me Superman, but am I more super or more man? People probably read it and was like, there's no ... dots on the Jason Blood one, but there's a couple ... dots on the Superman one, so Tom King must have wrote that one, because if there's anything Tom King loves, it's the word like and spaces. About a lot of people pausing, a lot of ... dots. But yeah, I just I thought that was funny. It's great that the majority of people, it was close though, people were very confused. I got a couple replies of people being like, damn, I can't tell the difference. But yeah, oh man, this is great. Just helps prove my point. All the dialogue sounds the exact same. This is how King dialogue works in this book. A character goes in with their thought, starts to second guess themselves, pauses, and then goes back to what they were initially saying. Let's use this Tim Drake confessional as an example. Tim says, so I get it. I get it more than I get it. What the hell does that even mean? And the only variations on this dialogue are how many likes or ... dots King decides to add. The point is, every time a character speaks, you don't hear them, you hear King using them as a puppet. Seriously, take any line of dialogue that doesn't mention something specific that would give away who is speaking, and have someone read it while you're not looking at the page. I guarantee you won't be able to tell who it is, because everyone sounds the exact same. Now, the book isn't all bad. There are some good aspects of this book. For instance, the art is fantastic. Clay Mann, Lee Weeks, and Mitch Gerads all do a fantastic job. The problem is King wastes their talents by having them draw either people standing around or 9-panel grids that just have slight head movements from panel to panel. These guys are some of the best in the industry at what they do, and Tom King wastes them, but they still give you something pretty to look at. The one thing Tom King did correctly in this book was his portrayal of Arsenal in his confessional. It felt spot on, and I genuinely felt bad for Roy. I'll go ahead and read Roy's confessional to show you guys what I'm talking about. I'm Arsenal, and I'm a superhero and an addict. So 2 things. You know, when I started shooting up, it was for the health benefits. When you got no powers, except sticks with things on them, you tend to get hurt in this game. And I was hurting in every way, so doctors had me on some pills, then some more pills, and I kept getting hurt. And there were all kinds of pills. You get 6 doctors, 14 pharmacists, plus a guy who's not really a doctor, another guy who's only kind of a pharmacist, and one day you read somewhere that you're killing your kidneys with all the pills. So you go to a needle to save your kidneys and maybe some money. But really, isn't that what superheroes do? Save things? Now that right there feels spot on for Arsenal. I think that fits Roy Harper perfectly, and I felt bad for Roy. But sadly, that's the only character he nails. I wish we would have seen more of that, but oh well. In the end, Heroes in Crisis was a waste of time, and it accomplished nothing other than destroying Wally West and dragging other characters with him. Yes, I know Tom King didn't choose the characters, DC editorial did, but that's still no excuse to write this bad of a story and not adjust things to fit the characters he was allowed to use. Instead, King stuck with his story and made the characters fit his story even when it didn't make any sense. But yeah, guys, that's my thoughts on Heroes in Crisis. I know it took a while for me to get this review out, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. I had fun making the video, and please let me know in the comments below, what do you think of Heroes in Crisis? If you read it, I really want to know your guys' thoughts. I want to hear what everyone thinks about it, because most of the general consensus seems to be that it was pretty bad, but I've seen some people that liked it, so I want to hear from all sides. I want to hear what everyone has to say. Please let me know in the comments below what you thought about Heroes in Crisis, and yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.